Alright, welcome back to the channel. I'm sorry I've got a little bit of a bad voice because I'm recovering from pneumonia. Had a chest x-ray, everything looks good, it's just lingering stuff and crud in my lungs. So, we're back in the garage. I got one heater going right there. I got my other heater going right there. Ignore the mess on the side. But today, we're going to be working on the XR500R again. So, first, I'm gonna try and take care of some of this oxidation on the plastic. You know, the tank's got a little bit of this white stuff here, and I think with a little bit of WD-40, I was doing a test and should be able to get some of it off. So let's give that a shot and see what it looks like. Make sure you like and subscribe. You know, if I didn't like doing this content, if I didn't like you guys, I wouldn't be out here recovering from pneumonia and trying to work on this thing. So, show me some love, guys. First step, a little bit of WD-40 on the tank. And then I just kind of rub it in, and it seems to take care of the oxidation. I don't know what was on it, but it's definitely helping. And we'll do that a couple times to make sure all this stuff is out of here. And we'll have a like new tank. Okay, real quick, so the WD-40 actually did a really good job. The front fender looks great. The rear also looks really good. The tank looks pretty good too. Definitely old, but looks great from my point of view. The side plastics, this one and this one, I just wanted to check to see what it would do, and then I'll probably repair some of this stuff going on here. So it's been worn away a lot, and I'll probably just, you know, airbrush it, touch it up, make it red again. Not really take the whole thing apart until I'm ready to do a full frame off restoration for this bike. So that's the plan. Also, the kickstand that it came with, kind of a piece of junk. I might just remove it altogether because when the kickstand's up, it does stick out pretty far. So if I were to catch a rock or put my foot down to try and kick or something, go right into this thing. So for me, it's kind of a safety hazard. I'm probably going to remove it and then figure out another solution. I got more stuff to put on the bike, so let's get to that. The next thing on my list is the Kickstarter. So I picked up some spring kits, pretty straightforward, but I got both compression and tension springs. The labeling's not very good on this, but it looks like this is the 7/32 compression spring, which is the one in the bottom left. And this image is pretty pixelated, but that looks like a 7/32. So we're going to take one of these springs, and then we also ordered a ball bearing kit. So this thing works by putting a spring in here. So that's right there. And then let me find the ball bearing, and I'll let you know what that is in a second. So I'm taking a 6mm ball bearing, which is the third biggest in this kit. And then we will install it. So we'll slide that in, push that up against here, and we'll see if we can actually finesse this in. not terrible, but not exactly tight. So I actually went down from a 6mm to a 5mm ball bearing, and it actually definitely just clicked into place. So let's see, that comes out. I don't know if that's going to be great. Worst case, I'll just bungee cord it or something. But for the time being, I like it. Okay, next up we got this. So, 7/8 handlebar to install right there. Replace the old one, which is down there. Missing some parts on it, so this is the replacement. Boom. Might have to clock those up just a little bit. I'll sit on the bike and see how it feels. Okay, so just installed the new handlebars. I got it clocked a little forward just for my hand position, but feels pretty good. I think it looks pretty good too. Okay, let's I don't have hand guards or hand grips for it right now, and I don't have hand guards either. But that's not an issue. So the new throttle linkage is coming tomorrow, and I'll be able to install that in this video. And then let's install the brake lever, the clutch lever, the decompression lever, and then I also have a new front brake assembly that we can throw on here for the time being. Let's get to that. And of course, I should have thought about putting those controls on prior to putting the bars on. So we're gonna have to undo some of this stuff because these don't stretch out that far. Okay, I got it to a point where I can reinstall the bar, and then I'll work on moving these things further back onto the bar in a second. Clutch, decompression lever installed. Probably have to adjust it one more time once the hand grips come in, but it's on there for now. I'm okay with it, and we'll always be doing some tweaking to this. All right, let's get the front brake on and see how that looks. All right, I ordered a new brake line or brake lever off of eBay. So just attach the two pieces. Then we're going to clamp it onto right there and run the wire. So that should be pretty easy. Let's get to work on that. Let's see. So I think the solution here is I need to drill out this hole a little bit because I'm not quite fitting, or I can just sand down the edges of this little metal piece. There's definitely a lip. I think that's what it's getting hung up on. So let's bust out the Dremel, try and sand that down, and we'll see what happens. need to kind of open that up. There we go. You will most likely have to adjust both of these, but whatever, that's fine. Okay. One thing that is interesting is that the forks have 20 pounds pressure. A little bit too much. So I actually got a Slacker Pro for Christmas, and we're going to check the suspension sag using that fancy new tool. So let's bust that out and see how it works. Alright, I got the Slacker hooked up to the axle, magnetic, and I just clicked it to the fender. And I've got the remote so that when you pull on this thing, it does change. So we're at 0 now because the bike's on the stand. And I'm going to put you down for a second, and we'll take it off the stand and see what your static sag is at. Static sag's at 4, 5. Moving forward a second. That's fine. 5. And I sit on it. And we're at 87, 84, 83. So that means I'm probably going to take out, well, I don't know. I kind of like it a little bit higher. 86, 83. It is an older bike, so let's keep it like that. For the rear suspension, 85. Alright, so real quick, I checked the pressures on the forks up here. This one was at 25, that one was at 7. I set them both to 15. I'm getting good sag on it. Decided not to film it because I kept checking and testing, and it was just kind of repetitive. So that's where we stand with that. All right, now the front tire seems to be holding air pretty well. Let's check the pressure real quick. Make sure. I do have an extra inner tube for it, just in case. But I put it at 20 psi 2 weeks ago, and it's back at 20. Nope, but maybe not anymore. Let's check that one more time. Yep, okay. Front's holding air very well. The back, on the other hand, not fall over. Let's do a quick check of the back tire, and you will see there's nothing in it. If I fill it up, oh, now it's holding air. Oh, but there it goes. So, somewhere in this thing, it's leaking. So we got to change the inner tube on that. Should be pretty straightforward. But yeah, somewhere in this, it's leaking. So, for that, we have our new toy, the tire changer, which I definitely need to attach to some 2x4s, but yeah, exciting stuff. I'm going to be able to change tires in the garage without the help of other people. So let's go ahead and attach this to some wood, and then we will get the tire off the back and replace that inner tube. Okay, let's start by taking out the axle. And I'm using a 15/16. Oh, well, I'm using this. I should use my new tool. Alright, the new tool. The Milwaukee M18 high torque impact wrench. Alright. Okay, have to hammer out some bent up metal, but pretty easy. Disc brake is now out. Let's bring this over to the tire changing stand and get to work on it. Now, I've never friggin' done this, so bear with me. Alright, this is my first time changing a tire. Well, technically the second time, but it's my first time with the tire changing setup, so let's see what I can do. Okay. Beat myself up, but I'm using WD-40 to lube this thing up. And that is helping me get this tire off. So, oh my god, that was challenging. Let's see if we can get the last little bit off. There we go. This one over that one. All right, new day. Had to take a little break. I was getting frustrated. Anyway, rather than doing an inner tube, because this thing is kind of old and a pain, I'm actually going to do a tubeless conversion. So, on the internet, there's a lot of DIY solutions for this, and it involves putting a sealant on each of the spokes, plugging the rim lock holes right there and there, and then throwing some tape around the inside. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to use JB Weld to plug the rim locks. I'm then going to use Gorilla Glue Max Strength and go over each one of the holes. And then I do have a missing spoke right here. You can see that. So ordered some spokes to replace that, and then this one's really loose, so that's a good one, that's a good one, that's a bad one. So we're gonna replace this one because it's super loose and I can't tighten it, and then we should be in business. So let's get to work on that JB Weld, plugging in the rim lock holes, and then we'll see what happens next. I apologize for the entire mess in here. I just haven't had time to clean up, and I picked up the bike before I was done disassembling the snowmobile, so I'm kind of in the middle of a bunch of different projects, plus the Land Cruiser, which will come back to the channel. as soon as I get back from all my traveling these days. I got a couple big trips coming up, and I need to save some money for those. So Land Cruiser's coming back. We'll get back into the snowmobile build shortly. Plus, I need to park my truck in here, and I can't do that with the current state of affairs. So JB Weld time. Let's get to work on that. For our disposable surface, we're just going to use a piece of wood, just a little piece of aluminum that I have lying around. Okay, so we got the JB Weld there, this little glob, and then right there as well, nice little glob. So setup time on this stuff is about 6 minutes, and then it cures in 4 to 5 hours. So I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit, and then we'll start with the adhesive and sealant with the Gorilla Glue along the outside. Gonna skip these two right here. So this one, because that's loose, and obviously that missing one, which we'll replace later in the week. Let's try this whole thing out. Cut off a little bit at the tip. Oh God. Alright, so to prevent the adhesive from sliding to one side of the wheel, I actually rigged up this contraption. So there it is. I got a drill with a bungee cord, and that is attached to my tire changer with a couple clamps, and it's just keeping the wheel spinning so that this whole thing can stay pretty even without it dripping to one side. So that's the creativity that I came up with. Alright, I'm going to check in with you guys in a couple days when this stuff is dry, and then we'll see if this thing holds air. We're going to continue to let this dry. It's dry to the touch now. No issues there. I'm waiting on spokes to replace this sprocket right here where my finger is, which is this one. You can kind of see it moving, maybe ever so slightly. And then I also need to add a spoke right there. We'll seal those, and then the tire's going back on. While we're waiting for those parts to show up, we are going to address the kickstand. So this kickstand that came on this thing is right here. It's aluminum, and it was bowed out to the point where it would stop like that, right? So a little bit out. I'm going to weld up my own bracket and make something similar to this with new materials. We're going to use this as a template. I'm gonna have this go around the other way with the bend that way, so when it's actually in the up position, it lines up with the swing arm. And we're going to weld in some metal to this hole and then re-drill it, and then cut a slot. Not on this, probably on a new piece, but that's the plan. We're gonna make a new kickstand and bracket for this thing. Whoopsies, I thought I was recording. Apparently I wasn't. So I cut off a little triangle from this sheet of 4130 chromoly that I had. I then turned it into a little circle, and it now fits directly in there. And so I'm gonna weld that in place and then use that as the new center point for my new hole. So let's tack that in place, weld it in, make sure it's not going anywhere, and then we will start working on the actual bracket once I clean it all up. Pretty simple, so let's get to it. Okay, now I'm going to drill the first hole through this thing, starting with a small drill bit, and then I'll check what bolts I have and open it up from there. Now I'm going to open this up to 21/64. I might have to go up one more size on the drill bit, but we'll see when we get there. Alright, so, talking behind my mask, but I marked off the two little squares I want to make. I'm going to cut those out with the angle grinder, and those will be the mounting bracket for the kickstand. You'll see them in a second. It'll make sense. Alright, so I ended up cutting up the bracket a little bit, and I've got this bar in here that I'm going to use to get the spacing correct. So got it clamped in, and now I'm going to tack this bar in place and then cut it to the right length. So that'll be pretty easy. Alright, let's get to work on that. There is the end product. Gonna cut that off, and then we'll see how it fits. Just ground off the bottom right here, so that's what that looks like, nice and flat. And now we're going to weld this bar right there and see how that goes, and if we need to adjust any angles, we will do so at that time. Once we get the wheel back on, we'll see if this is long enough, and then if not, I can extend it if needed. So let's do that now. Alright, so let's throw that in there and see what it looks like. Oh yeah, alright. Natural stop right there, and we might have to
add something in to prevent it from hitting the swing arm, but that seems pretty sturdy. Okay, and here's the final product. So I welded on this tab right here for a future spring. Seems like a pretty good solution. And this is a lot stronger than the one that came on there. So happy with it. All right, back to the tire. We got parts now, so this is another project. Forget about this. It's gonna go in my office. We got spokes. We got nipples. And in order to get the spokes on, especially this one, we need to take the sprocket off. So I'm gonna do that right now. So a little long. I'm gonna modify this though real quick. So what I'm gonna do, because this is an older bike, I'm just gonna cut the spoke and then weld it. See what happens. If it breaks again, oh well. And that fit. So I'm just gonna tighten this one down. And then we'll take a look at the other one. Don't let people tell you that you can't replace spokes with ones that don't fit correctly. See if that holds in the long run. I think it will. And worst case, I will just replace it if I have to. Alright, let's get rid of this loose one. Do the same thing. Okay, let's let these 3 holes dry, and then we will throw on the Gorilla crystal clear tape, seal everything in, and then we'll put the tire back on. So that's exciting. All right, we'll be back in a couple minutes. All right, now it's time to put on that crystal clear Gorilla tape. Here it is. This is what we're gonna be using. I'm just gonna drop it right in the center and do like 2 passes of it, because it seems to be pretty thick and flexible. Should be a good time. And let me make sure I got something to cut this with, and then we're good to go. This thing should be airtight on the spokes, that's for sure. My only concern is the actual bead of the tire seating up against this. If there's an issue, we will use some slime and make it truly airtight. Once again, the reason I'm doing this whole tubeless conversion is because it's a 17-inch rim. Not super popular anymore. Also very difficult to find the right tube size. So just gonna, this is the approach I'm going with at this point. And then now all we need to do is cut a hole for the valve stem, and we're good to go. Got a little hole for the valve stem. Moment of the truth. Let's see if we can get this tire on there, and then see if it holds air. Charge up the compressor now, so give it a shot. Starting with some soapy water. Okay, first speed down. All right, let's see if this thing will hold air. Of course, I wasn't recording when I did the bead pop, but I used Coleman camp stove and a blowtorch, and it worked really well. So that's my first time doing that. Holy smokes. Damn, I wish I caught that on video because it would have been great, but oh well. You got to take my word for it. It's holding air. We're at 30 PSI. Oh, that was so cool, and I didn't get it on video. I'm sorry. Let you down, YouTube. Woo! Alright. Oh well, you got to see the first tries, but it's holding air, so you know it worked. Let's get this thing back on. One courtesy plat. Okay. Now let's put it on its own kickstand and see how that looks, and we'll make any adjustments as necessary. Drop the kickstand. Okay, it's a little long. Alright, let's cut off a little bit and see how it sits. Okay. All right, I think that's perfect. Okay, let's take the XR around the block. I'm going to put a fresh tank of gas in, and we'll get it fired up and see how it runs. Alright, let's see. Will this thing start up on the first or second kick? Cold out. Come on.
work on the jetting, but it's running and noisy and fun. Like and subscribe. See you on the next one. Peace.